You are watching The End Zone, sponsored by Brahms.
Welcome to another edition of The End Zone along with Camryn Johnson. I am Colby Daniels. Some say this is the happiest season of all. I'm not talking about Christmas coming up in a couple months. I'm talking about the sports equinox that is going on. Did you participate earlier in the week?
I watched.
Did you?
I didn't. Yeah, other than that, I actually didn't even know that was a thing until the day before it happened.
Okay.
So that was a fun new fact for me to learn.
I got some football, baseball, and basketball in on that day. Unfortunately, by the time I decided, you know what, I should probably just watch a couple minutes of hockey so I can say I did it.
Right.
The hockey games were over, so I missed it.
Tried.
But I consumed a lot of sports that day.
Yeah,
and,
especially if you watch baseball.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that 18 inning, I watched every single pitch of the 18 inning Game 3 in Los Angeles, and still made it to work on time. So
that's
there you
impressive.
go. All right, we got to talk college football. It's we're about to head into November. And so many things change in November. We have the first college football playoff rankings next week, so we'll kind of take a preview of that. The Heisman race really starts to ramp up in the month of November, and conference championship races are in full swing. It's really weird with Oklahoma. You get used to this Big 12 schedule where you maybe have one or two just massively pivotal games in the conference schedule, and you get into the SEC and it feels like every single week potentially like reorders the standings. So it's a lot of fun because you have that game against Ole Miss last week. Didn't go the Sooners' way. They have a big game this week on the road against Tennessee. If they win that, they bounce back and still are in the playoff mix. So it's just a ton of fun.
Yeah, it's fun from a neutral fan standpoint because it's just a bunch of good games back to back.
That's
if
right.
you're a fan, though, I mean, you're asking for a break at this point because, like you said, it feels like every game is do or die. And, I mean, especially this time of year. It's fun, but it's stressful. It gets the nerves going.
Well, if you're a fan, the question you're asking is, what is wrong with John Mateer, right? I mean, he was great early. He struggled since the surgery. He was asked earlier this week, is it a confidence thing? Is it an injury thing? What is going on?
No, I don't think any of it plays into it. I think in this offense, you got to be real disciplined to where your eyes go and what you see. And it's pretty simple. It's a more simple offense than a lot of that's around college football, and so I need to just get it done, be more disciplined to my reads and my eyes. Even with the loss, like it's fun to play football. It's fun to be in the stand or be with the fans in this atmosphere. It's still fun. And I reminded myself of that yesterday. Like it's still fun. And it's still a great opportunity. I'm blessed to be here.
So he says it's not either. He says maybe his eyes, he's not seeing things the way that he needs to see them. I go back to those early games in the season. There was a confidence, and I think he still plays with confidence. I'm not suggesting that he's not playing with confidence, but I think there was a confidence in executing the offense that has not been there the last 3 weeks, right? One thing that really stood out to me in comparison to the quarterbacks that played a year ago was how quickly he would get the ball out early this season. It doesn't look the same, I think, in terms of getting the ball, knowing where you're going with the football and pulling the trigger. And overall, the production has plummeted. I mean, you look at John Mateer before the surgery, completing 67% of his passes, 350 total yards per game, that's passing and rushing, and scored 11 total touchdowns in those first 4 games of the season. Since the surgery, 3 games, 57%, averaging 203 total yards a game. And he is responsible for only 2 total touchdowns over the last 3 games. So, I mean, the numbers have obviously dipped. Where do you kind of put or slice up the pie of why John Mateer is struggling?
I know he says it's not confidence, but you can't help but wonder if he doesn't get that thumb injury, what does this season look like? I mean, and there are some confounding variables in there too, because obviously that was against a different level of competition. Now we're into the part of the season where it's, as we were mentioning, just tough opponent after tough opponent. So I just really don't know. I think it is a little bit of confidence. I mean, he hasn't looked necessarily bad. He's just not getting results when he needs to, and that is, in the end, the most important thing in the quarterback role.
Well, I think you nailed it off the top. Level of competition has gone up tremendously over the last 3 weeks versus what we saw in the first 4 weeks. 2 of those being, I mean, very subpar opponents compared to the rest of your schedule. But, I mean, you look at the Michigan game, you look at the Auburn game, it's not as though the offense lit the world on fire in either of those games, but you got, to your point, really good production out of John Mateer and big plays out of John Mateer in clutch time opportunities. That hasn't been there, especially in the Texas game. They didn't need it against South Carolina, and it wasn't there against Ole Miss. But I think the thumb, it has to be bothering him to an extent. I don't know that it's the difference maker and why he's not playing well, but I think that he feels a little bit unsure, especially with the offensive line. There's been a lot more pressure in the backfield over the last 3 weeks than there was early in the season. So I think it's a lot of everything. I mean, for all the fans that say, no, it's this, no, it's this, I think it's a little bit of all of that kind of accumulate to why this offense is struggling and why John Mateer doesn't seem to be the same guy. The big difference maker against Ole Miss, at least giving them an opportunity to climb back into that football game, was Xavier Robinson. Where has Xavier Robinson been all season?
I know. I feel the running back room has just been a roller coaster to watch, because you start it at the beginning of the season, you're like, here comes Jade Knott, look out, this is going to be this big guy. Then all of a sudden, we don't really see a lot of him. Then it's Torrey Blaylock, and then in recent weeks, we've seen Xavier Robinson get up there. It has been fun to watch him, and I think he's been a big part of rejuvenating or breathing life into the run game, which, you know, the first half of the season, it's like, we need the run game. Well, now they're getting the run game. It's like, now we need that passing game to come back. It's just been a whole whirlwind of things, but he's been a bright spot. He
was obviously a huge playmaker in the win against Alabama last season. Only 9 carries on Saturday, but went for over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. I saw a tweet after the game that said, can't wait to watch Xavier Robinson get 3 touches next week. You know, with how wild it just seems like the workload is spread out from running backs, but he's clearly a game changer for that Sooner backfield. And the defense, I mean, the numbers are still good. I thought they played good defense for the most part against Ole Miss, but I mean, third downs, once again, much like the Texas game, completely plagued this group.
Yeah, and it was especially surprising because they've been good against mobile quarterbacks for the most part this season, and they seem to struggle a little bit more with Chambliss. I mean, he is a very good quarterback, and he looks like it, but yeah, it's kind of the same thing as Mateer. They just need to start delivering in those clutch moments, and I think that you get that going, they get that confidence. Not that they've lost any confidence, but I think that's a big game changer for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Chambliss, I think, by a mile, is the most accurate quarterback they've faced all year, and that really showed up, I thought, on Saturday in a bunch of situations where they generated pressure. We saw Jackson Arnold miss some of those passes. Arch Manning made some of those, but also missed some of those. Chambliss didn't miss often in critical situations. I mean, he was throwing that football on the money and showed why he is in the running for the Heisman Trophy, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. That is Camryn Johnson. I am Colby Daniels. The Thunder are on a roll to start this NBA season. We'll talk to former Thunder player Anthony Morrow next about their start. Along with Camryn Johnson, I'm Colby Daniels. Thunder off to a great start. Obviously, the rotation has been in flux with J-Dub obviously being hurt. Chet's missed a game. Caruso's missed a couple games. But SGA, being the MVP that he is, has really carried this group and been the tone setter. I spoke with former Thunder player Anthony Morrow about that topic. SGA picking up right where he left off in the NBA Finals.
He's got that pedigree now, that kind of confidence. You give a guy with that kind of ability, athletic abilities, IQ, and the next level for him, I feel like he's embracing even more now, is those moments. It's those moments when it's like, all right, give your best player the ball. I got the confidence, I got the work ethic, I got the pedigree to come in and win a game for my team at the end. I mean, everybody made a big deal out of his first half against Houston in the opener. And I was like, he's just filling it out. That's the kind of player he is. He gonna give what the defense takes him. And it's a lot of people say that and throw that around, but to really watch that is different. Because a lot of guys only know how to play one way. He can switch his game up offensively. He can post up, you can pick and roll, you can ISO, and then he's not scared to take the big shot at the end of the game. That's something that you may not see on a scout report, you know. But now you're gonna have to put that on a scout report. If less than 5 minutes in the game or in regulation or in overtime, you know where the ball going. But how do you stop it? Because he'll make the right play. Yeah. He's not going to force it, but he wants that shot. He wants that moment. Your superstar got to be like that.
They know how to win. They know what they need to do when it counts. And I think it speaks to the fact that there are not giant egos on this team, that everybody's willing to do the little things, you know, for the good of the team.
From top to bottom, everybody's holding themselves accountable. Everybody holding each other accountable. So if you buy into that, you know, you rarely get 14, 15 guys with the jersey on that's buying into that, let alone the entire organization. So I think that's the fuel right there. That's like half the battle. Guys, everybody works on their game. Everybody's taking care of their body. Everybody's eating right. But to be as one for 8 or 9, maybe 10 months out the year, if you make it to the finals, that's tough to keep a group of guys like that together. And they're really young too. Shay's really young.
All right, I gotta ask you about AJ Mitchell. I mean, this guy was a second round pick last year. Rookie season, plays a total of 36 games. Sort of makes the playoff rotation. I mean, he wasn't a guy that was playing critical minutes, but was getting a little bit of run in the postseason. And a week into the season, I know that Jalen Williams, J-Dub, hasn't played yet, and he's obviously going to step into a giant role when he does. But this guy has done everything that's been asked of him. He's the third leading scorer on the team through 5 games. I think he's been really valuable in terms of just being a ball handler and a guy that can run the offense when Shay's not out there and Shay doesn't have such a giant workload. But, I mean, he looks as comfortable taking shots and just being the guy, so to speak, when Shay's not on the floor, and even at times when he is sharing the floor with Shay. I mean, what a find for Oklahoma City. And again, I said this a little bit earlier, you have a team that is full of guys that don't have giant egos, because I don't know how many situations in the NBA you could have a second-round pick that plays 36 games in his rookie year and is able to, I think, get the shot volume, right, that this guy has immediately, and nobody's looking at it sideways.
I mean, he stepped right in. It's always next guy up, and you got to always have a lefty on your team that can make shots, man. I love watching him play. He hit a buzzer beater, and I think it was going into halftime, and he walked in, no expression on his face. He was all business. I love those kind of guys, man. But he fits the pedigree of the team. He fits everything that the team and that organization stands for. And I actually think, when J-Dub get back, he'll still be in the rotation, because he does take a lot off of Shay. Shay don't have to bring the ball up every single time. He can initiate the offense. When you run plays, you can run plays for him off the ball if he continues to make shots like he's doing, and he'll be a capable defender. They love those 6'4", 6'5" guys on the perimeter. When they, I watched them play that Houston game, when they adjusted and figured everything out down the stretch, and then overtime, it looked like they were in the zone, but they were in the matchup man. But all the guys, their arms so long, you don't know what they in for real. They close out, they take pride in defense, they on the string. And it's always great when your point guard is 6'6" and everybody behind them is 6'6" and up. So that's going to bode well for them, and I think that down the stretch of some of these close games has been like the main factor defensively. That's been good. So he fits right in with that. I love AJ, man. I think he's going to.
There you go. AJ Mitchell been a big part of this Thunder rotation early, and we'll see if it continues throughout the season. That's Camryn Johnson. I'm Colby Daniels. We'll talk college football playoff rankings. The first one is due next week. What would it look like today? That's next on The End Zone. Welcome back to The End Zone, along with Camryn Johnson. I'm Colby Daniels. Stay tuned. At the end of this segment, we have 10 seconds of Maction for you with Mac correspondent Adam King. You don't want to miss that. Camryn, one of my favorite things and least favorite things in college football is the same thing. It's college football playoff rankings. I look forward to the release of rankings every week. I look forward to all the arguments for and against teams. It both excites me and frustrates me at the same time. It's like this magical, weird spell that we're all under with college football. Next Tuesday is the first college football playoff ranking, so I got a little bit too excited. I can't wait for next Tuesday. So here's what the rankings would look like if they came out this week, and this is just based off the AP poll, which I absolutely despise, but according to the AP, this is what they would look like. Ohio State, number 1 team in the country. Indiana, Texas A&M, and Alabama would be the 4 teams that have the first-round byes. And then I think you have some really interesting first-round matchups. Georgia Tech Vandy, I think, would be a fun game. I don't know how good Memphis is. They're probably being led to slaughter if they were to go to Athens, Georgia, and play the Bulldogs. But give me Ole Miss, BYU. I think that's a ton of fun. And Oregon, Miami might be one of the best first-round games that we've probably had if that were to happen in these 2 years of this expanded playoff.
Yeah, my favorite part about this all is just how much the field has changed. I mean, you still have your your blue bloods in there, so to speak, the Alabamas, Ohio States. But I mean, seeing Georgia Tech in there, Memphis, I mean, Vanderbilt, for crying out loud. It's just, I appreciate the new field. But yeah, I think this is going to be a fun November, especially, yeah.
As it stands right now, 2 Big Ten teams with the first round byes, 2 SEC teams with the first round byes. Clearly, somebody's got to lose, right? You're going to have conference championship games if those teams don't drop regular season matchups. But I don't know about you. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up that way as well. I mean, I think you'd have to have an undefeated Big 12 champ to possibly get a first round bye, or an undefeated ACC champ to possibly get a first round bye. Outside of that, I think it probably is 2 Big Ten and 2 SEC teams in the top 4.
I would agree with you on that. I mean, there's not a lot of separation between these teams, or I should say, it's such a deep conference, at least in the SEC this year, that like everyone is just those like one-loss teams. So there's a lot of teams with a shot there, and then Ohio State, Indiana. Yeah, I mean, those 2 teams are the clear front runners in the Big Ten. So we'll see.
Who's the biggest contender and who are the frauds?
You know, I was just thinking about this earlier. Ohio State has to be like, I feel like this is the least we've ever talked about the number 1 team in the country, because, I mean, Alabama's been making so much noise in these last few weeks, Indiana. I think the real contenders are on this side of the bracket right now, Ohio State and Alabama. As for the pretenders, man, it's hard to tell right now. I mean, some of these smaller teams that haven't been in here yet, it's hard to know where exactly they stack up. But, yeah, well, man, it's tough.
I got to admit, I thought Indiana was a total fraud. I thought they were going to get exposed at Oregon, and they put a whooping on Dan Lanning's Ducks. So I can't wait to see them in another big matchup and see if they can duplicate what they were able to do in Eugene. And look, I think Texas A&M is a really good football team as well. If Marcel Reed continues to play at a high level, it's always been quarterback play that's really plagued them because they've been good everywhere else. If he plays at a high level, they're really interesting in the SEC as well. But what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4... 5 SEC teams.
Seems about right.
They're all going to play each other at the end, so we'll see how many end up with 3 or 4 losses, but at least that's where we stand at the moment. All right, we got to get 10 seconds of MAC football in, because MACtion starts next week. Here's MAC correspondent Adam King.
You nailed it, Colby. The days are getting shorter. The leaves are changing a little bit. That means your Tuesday and Wednesday nights are about to change, and the MAC leading off with their leader in the clubhouse, a huge matchup.
All right, along with Camryn Johnson, I am Colby Daniels. Thanks for the 10 seconds of MACtion. Game picks next here on the End Zone.
Time now for the Brahms in the Bag Pick of the Week.
All right, let's make game picks as we head into another monster weekend of college football. And we've got to start with a game that preseason was arguably one of the best games on the entire college football schedule, and now, I mean, it's I guess one of the best of the weekend just because of brand recognition, but Penn State at Ohio State.
Yeah, I feel Penn State is just, what a wild season it has been for them. Ohio State, on the other hand, they've looked consistently good. I was talking about how they haven't been talked about a lot. It's because they haven't played a lot of close games, and I don't think this weekend will be any different. I think Ohio State wins it comfortably.
Penn State's given up. Give me the Buckeyes big in Columbus. All right, game number 2 this weekend, Vandy at Texas.
You know, Texas is kind of like Penn State. They had, or maybe not like Penn State. Texas had high expectations. They have not impressed me a ton this year. Vanderbilt, on the other hand, has just exceeded expectations. I think they go in and get the upset.
Arch Manning might not play in this game, which gives me more confidence on the Texas side. So give me the Longhorns at home. I think they might be a better team at home without Arch Manning.
Okay.
All right, sticking in the SEC, the cocktail party, Georgia, Florida.
Yeah, Georgia, not quite the Georgia of the past, but still a really good team. I think that Georgia ultimately gets this one done.
This is one of those rivalry games, so you kind of feel like anything could happen, but the Bulldogs are clearly the much better football team, so I'll take Georgia minus 7.5 as well. All right, is this the week that Oklahoma State at least covers the massive point spread that they face on the road against the Kansas Jayhawks?
Short answer, yes. I think they have played some of these big teams really well. Even Texas Tech, the score does not show how well the defense played. I think you go into a 4-4 Kansas, especially with the ties of Clint Bowen going back home. I think they cover, and heck, if they win, it wouldn't even surprise me. But they at least covered.
It would surprise me. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I picked against them like 4 straight weeks. They failed to cover all those weeks. I'm going to ride the hot hand and go with the Kansas Jayhawks minus 24. All right, the game of the weekend, we were talking off the air. I feel like this game could go in about a million different directions. What are you thinking for Oklahoma in Knoxville against Tennessee?
Same deal. I really do think it could go either way. I think what John Mateer is going to really this is going to have to be a bounce back game for him because they just have not looked their best in recent weeks. Tennessee at night, they're going dark mode. I think they make it tough. I think OU covers. Do I think they win? I don't know. Like you said, could go either way.
I could pick a million reasons to pick OU, pick a million reasons to pick Tennessee. I think it's a close game either way. The fact that I'm getting the hook on the plus side of the 3, give me plus 3.5 for the Sooners to at least cover. We'll see who wins, but should be a fun game either way at night in Knoxville. Along with Camryn Johnson, I'm Colby Daniels. Have a great college football weekend.